I mean, I think about it. You have the kind of the prologue and the showing
Mm-hmm.
how this
Yeah.
church was blessed, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
that's just this flashback.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
suddenly, Fahad Faasil is awakened by the angel of his father and these
Yeah.
other two
Yeah.
angels,
Mhm.
and I just sort of love that. And then I love
Yeah,
that,
that was
and I
Yeah.
good.
love
Same.
that they repeated at the end, like they were looking
I
on,
know.
benevolently when he won, right?
Mm.
Like when he won
Mhm.
with his father's clarinet. So, because
Yeah.
you thought, oh, it's just
Yeah.
this golden clarinet because he's in heaven or whatever, right? He's an angel, but
Yeah.
no, it really
Mm.
was a gold
It's his
clarinet.
It
special
was.
gold clarinet to pass down.
Yeah.
I know he brings it out and they hand it to him like it's like, King Arthur and his sword.
I
There
mean,
Uh-huh.
it is.
the scene where
Yeah.
the
Oh,
one priest breaks the clarinet, I was like,
Oh my
oh,
that was
god.
heavy, right? Like,
that was like what? Ugh,
I think that's the other thing that makes this, because there's so many layers to this movie. There's like, even though we talk so much about it, there's a whole like emotional layer under this which really hits you at times, right? Like obviously we talk
yeah.
about the father and the shadows, and living up to what you could be, and there's obviously the spiritual side of
Mhm.
things. But yeah, there are some scenes in this that just like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
there's a beautiful juxtaposition, because like there's a scene at the end where he's won the competition and he goes inside and
Yeah.
he sees the person who was praying for him and wanting him to succeed has actually passed away. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
story about that, and him just wanting to,
Yeah.
I think it was like he died listening to the song of his old
Yeah.
friend, and there's so many things. And also like the
Yeah.
Susanna being locked up, so it plays on your emotions
Yeah.
really
Good.
well. It's like, I think that's why this movie is so rewatchable, because it's on so many levels such a good movie.
Yeah.
and
You got
I have
basically,
to say, yeah, I have to say, I really
uh,
like that even though we're seeing Shoshana be oppressed by her family and literally
Yeah.
locked up, she's still
yeah.
badass. Like the scene,
That's a strong female
That's
character.
okay?
Yes. Yes.
And
I
like
loved
when
her.
she knocks that other priest off the bridge and just like get out of here. And like she's
Oh my
confronting
god.
Fudge. Like,
Yeah.
are you wanting to be a priest? Or are you going to marry me and have my children? Which one is it gonna be? I
Yeah.
mean,
Get off your ass and pick one.
I mean, I we didn't get enough of her in my opinion. But like every scene that she was
Yeah.
in, she was so badass. She's throwing curry in people's faces or whatever. Like she was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it.
She was great. She
she
was
was so
great.
good. I think a very well fleshed out character. And I'm glad that they did that. Like that's the thing. Like there are some characters who are there for spectacle, like the coconut guy. I don't think he has much of a role in this, but yeah, like Chemban has a
No.
story in this. Susanna has
Yeah.
a story in this, and it's fleshed out.
Yeah.
How about you, Kathy? What did you think about? Because I want to get your opinion on not just Susanna. Also, we haven't talked about Fahad Fasil in this movie enough. Like he's a main.
Oh, I'm
I
happy to
think.
talk about
Yeah.
him.
What do you think about Susanna and sort of Fahad's performance in this? Because it's a very different Fahad from anything I've seen, and I was glad to see this because the range. I mean, he's somebody that I've always known has so much range, but like in
Yes.
this movie, to see him play such a muted character,
Yeah.
no, it's kind of funny I'm saying muted in a musical movie, but
Yes.
yeah. What do you
That's
think
true.
about all that?
I feel like I've seen him. This is why I wasn't sure because I'm seeing the actor instead of the character sometimes. But
Yes.
he's played muted characters in movies that are tactics to disarm people, like
Yeah.
Joji, where he pretended like he was kind of like just sort of, oh, I'm not doing anything, whatever,
Yes. Yes.
or even in like what was the one where he was the thief on the bus,
Oh,
and
Thunder.
he goes,
I can't pronounce that one, but we all know
I can't, I
exactly
know you're
what
gonna
we're
try.
talking about. Yeah.
Thunder
Loved it.
Destruction.
And he
Yeah.
goes in there and he's all hapless, like, "Oh, I didn't do it." So I
Yeah.
kind of expect him to be kind of, sort of, I'm in the background, don't notice me. But I kept, because I notice him because you
Mm,
have to, I kept expecting it to be sort of something that he's just sort of playing off a little bit. I mean, I know his character wasn't doing that, but I'm expecting that strength from him.
yeah.
So when eventually you're like just waiting, like this is Fahad Faasil. He's not going to be the big wuss this entire time. He's going to,
Mm,
and sure enough, they waited till the very end, but he does kind of pull it together at the very end, and he just comes out and he just gets it, and that was awesome. And I was
mm.
so glad to see it. I wish it'd come back a half hour earlier, but I get why they saved it. So I loved him in that. I was kind of again anticipating his shift because of who he is. He's like one of those
Yeah. Yeah.
actors that is leading beyond the role almost. It's like you almost
Mhm.
can't even talk about the character's name. I'm talking about the actor's name.
Mm.
But I always love seeing him in a movie, always brings something complex. He never wastes. He's one of those actors. I love when they do this. even if they're in the background or they're not even the central character at the time, they're doing something. They're kind of, we call it the business, where they're like picking
Yeah.
up a prop, or they're, hand, or putting a hand on the wall, or like they're not just standing there looking. Like they always have a character quirk happening. So he was
Yes,
always
yes.
informing us, even in a background where someone comes in and kind of pushes him out of the way. I remember this specifically, a scene where he's sort of in the background. I'm like, why are they putting Fahadh Faasil in the background? But he was never idle. He was never like absent from the scene. So
Yeah.
I really like that, because he knew how to handle a scene. Even though he's giving the actors their room, he wasn't passive. So that's what's great about him.
I do definitely think this is more of an ensemble kind of a feeling
Yeah.
of a movie,
Yeah, yeah.
and not like this is a Fahadh Faasil movie, right?
Right. And he does
No,
like
no,
You
no.
know, and he's gracious with that, and definitely, I mean, even now when he's a bigger star, you always feel
Yeah.
like he's giving all the other actors room to
Yes, yes, yes.
do their
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, exactly.
No, definitely. I really like. I mean, I've seen him do that before. I think as of late, I've seen him more as a star cast. But he always like. I mean, I think this is a similar thing in this industry. Like, if you see it with legends like Mammootty and Mohanlal as well, like they'll let other stars take over the show if they have to. Like, if they do,
Right.
whatever's better for the product. And it definitely worked out in this one. But I will say, like, some of the scenes with Fahad, like especially with his father, I think with the flashbacks, man, they did hit me. Like, especially at the
they
end
were
when
really
he's sort of
sad.
looking. And he just has like a look of like
Yeah.
joy in his face after he's won everything, and he can still.
Mhm.
It really hit me really hard in some of those scenes, and it was a lot of because of him. Because again, the eyes and the emotion and everything that he can sort of bring in these scenes is fantastic. And just seeing him play a sort of clarinet player was pretty cool. It's just something a bit quirky as well. I think maybe that was the choice. Like, I think clarinet is not something that you really think of so much in music. Like, I know, Melanie, you're a superstar clarinetist, so I'm looking forward to hearing those. But
the electric guitar is where you're supposed to go with this band thing.
I know, especially in like modern music, especially Malayalam music and in like Indian music in general, there's a heavy like flute. Flutes can sometimes come and take over. Like, they can take over the entire show sometimes, and you have a flute solo going. You're like, whoa, listen to that flute. But clarinet is more orchestra. It's more an orchestra. know.
Yeah, it's true. It's not a solo instrument. Yeah,
no, exactly.
No, but it's more. I mean, these bands were more like literally like the Saints Go Marching In. It reminded me of New Orleans jazz style. That kind of small ensemble street band. And frequently you would have a clarinet player. But that's you're right. It's not an instrument that I ever would normally associate with Indian music. In fact, there's more of I don't know what the name of the instrument is, but you hear it often for wedding scenes and especially North Indian movies, and it's like a super big oboe kind of so it so it has much more of an oboe kind of a sound. I don't know what it's called, but that's the kind of reed instrument that I'm used to hearing, not clarinet. But I feel like they use it so well here, like especially mentioning again that night scene. It's like the clarinet can sound very soulful, right? So it can be peppy and high, but it also could have that soulful kind of a and I thought it was a really actually kind of a good choice because of all the different flavors that it can have. So
if Fahadh Faasil had actually wanted that girl sooner, if he really wanted to bring her in, you bring the boombox and you put it on your and you play Peter Gabriel as loud as you can, and that girl will come running.
Yes, very true.
This is
very
just
true.
Psychology.
Definitely right. Yeah.
One of the best serenades ever.
Definitely. No, I mean, that's really great insights with it, because I mean, even at the end, because I was waiting, because I was watching with my wife and doing the sort of climax scene, and when they're having the bands play, I'm like, I'm not hearing the clarinet be the highlight here at all until the very end. And one thing I also liked was like Fahad wasn't just a clarinet player; he became the leader of the group, and it's cool to see the different sort of contrast between the two of them, to be like, hey, how are you navigating your team and how are you navigating your team? Do sort of want to talk about that climax scene a little bit more and just that ending, because I mean that was like what, a 15-minute, 20-minute like music, like it felt like that long, but oh my god, I was just like bobbing my head and getting into it. Like, I mean, it was so much fun. Just, I mean, the visuals were great, and it's such a great contrast between the styles. So it felt like one guy would play some style, one will play another way. But how about you, Melanie? Because you're the musician here. Like,
Well, I
You're
would
the
know.
clarinet player.
I would just say
well, I mean,
that
of the three of us.
I would just say that while Malayalam films sometimes have had one runaway song, like I think of
Mhm.
Everay from Pramam or something like that, to have
Oh my god, yeah, that
such,
song.
it's not
Yeah.
often that you have a movie that is just completely so filled with music, right? And obviously
Yeah.
that was the theme of the film,
Yeah.
but just there was so much great music in this film. And like you said, it's completely infectious. And even though that Battle of the Bands was like 15 minutes, it never felt too long. You were just like, you were
No.
just
When you
vibing with
said that,
it,
I'm like, was that
vibing
really
with it,
15 minutes?
enjoying it. And
Yeah.
and the way the camera work was made you feel like I am in the middle of this festival enjoying this,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not watching this from some great distance. I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of this.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so
Exactly right.
yeah, I just really really enjoyed the soundtrack even more watching this a second time. And it's just one of the highlights of this film, because not that there isn't music in all Malayalam films, but it's not ever so much the focus as it was
Yeah.
in this film. And so that's one of the great things about this film. Again, something for repeat watchability of, I would watch this again just to enjoy some of these musical scenes
Yes.
and to
Yeah.
hear some of this music again.
Yeah.
No, it was like a musical. Like honestly, it
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
This is. I mean, all Indian movies are in some way a musical because they're songs,
Yeah,
but
it's
this
true.
actually felt like a musical because they had like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
long scenes and they had people come in, and they weren't just songs. There were whole scenes, like a whole band would come
Mhm.
together. I think one of the early ones, which really got me in the mood, was like I think the rival band comes to the toddy shop or whatever where
Yeah.
they're at,
Yeah.
and they're having like a battle, and it felt very theatrical, like they're pointing each other.
Yeah.
It's like those theater battles.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Very cute.
I really enjoyed it, and I got to give a special. I have to give a special mention to this guy, man. His actor's name is Makarand Deshpande, the guy with the crazy hair, and
Love
Oh my
him.
god, he's amazing.
my
So
god.
good.
So I think so. I'm pretty sure he's a Hindi actor because he was most. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie SRK movie. You must have seen it. Swadeshi.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's a truck driver in that very popular
Oh
song.
my
So
god.
yeah. And he has the
Oh
same.
wow.
Yeah.
Same
That
crazy
is
So
hair.
he's
funny.
that's his
Oh yeah.
iconic look. But I think one of the scenes when he's there and he's playing the trumpet and he's dancing along with it, you get to see the charisma that he has. I was like, this is perfect because Fahad is playing this because Fahad could easily be this, show stealer and do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But again, we're having a character actor come in in the last half an hour or
Yeah.
45 minutes and just almost steal the show, like how good he was. I
didn't think
impressed by him.
that Fahad was going to win after seeing that because he was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
vibrant and so like and you were
And
not
the
seeing that at
costume,
all.
like he
And
comes
then
in with like that crazy
I love
colorful costume at the start.
it.
I'm like,
Yeah, it's so
so
funny.
Oh
good,
god,
so
all I
good.
could think about it was how hot must have all of those actors been in those full band uniforms. Like,
Oh
oh
my
my
god, in the
god.
hot sun.
Right?
In the
Or
hot
the
sun.
priest robes for that matter. My god.
Oh god, yeah. Like,
Wow.
yeah, he
Definitely.
definitely had the easier end of that since he basically was shirtless most of it,
That's true. Yeah. He, I mean, I don't know if that was in the script or he was just like, let me just.
He's just in it. I know exactly.
You can say it both ways.
But,
I even like when he knew he was losing, how he was actually like celebrating it in a way. He's like,
Yes.
"Oh
yeah,
my god, he is the bat!" Like he wasn't like, he was.
No.
You're the winner. You did it. You're it. Like I love that he was cool about it, like in a weird way.
I
Like
love
he's like,
that.
there's no way we're winning. It was
No,
pretty
I
cool.
absolutely love that too. I think it was such a.
Yeah.
Again, like, this movie does a great job again of sort of not meeting your expectations because I think you would expect him to be like, and the winner is Fahadh
Yeah.
Faasil because they were doing before,
No.
right? But this is like, no, this is different. It's like, hey, we're going to appreciate how far you've come and who you are now as a person, and we're going to celebrate it. It's almost like the end of the celebration for him and everything that he's
there was no
overcome.
losing really. It just felt like one big win.
Exactly.
The whole
Right.
thing. Yeah. It was cute.
Despite the build up being like how he really disliked the whole church. He disliked I think he had a problem with Papan, right? That's his main thing.
Yeah.
He had a beef with him or something like that for some history. So it's just a movie like this deserves that. It's like a nice. There doesn't have to be animosity all the time between this kind of thing because it sort of brings that back. It's also interesting to see a church battle, like something we just don't expect to see that, like churches beefing with each other. I don't know. There's so much to like about this. So I think we're all on the same boat here. All pretty big fans of this
Super
movie. Really
enjoyable.
enjoyed it quite a lot.
Really liked it.
And again, the other movie reminded me of a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the movie Malikapuram from the industry. It was a big hit last year. So very different kind of movie, but it has the same. It's definitely more religious. So it takes. It's about a little girl who goes on Shabrimala, which is like a pilgrimage to Ayappa Temple. Beautiful movie. Oh my god, beautiful movie. You just get like, yeah, it's another one of those really nice emotional movies. It's definitely less complex and less layered, but again, it has the same kind of twist at the end where the person playing the role is actually, he's actually Ayappa, he's Lord Ayappa, like deity in in life. So again, you had that sort of twist at the end, which this also had. I mean, that kind of shocked me when I saw that. I was like, whoa, what is this? I didn't expect that. How about you guys? Did you sort of enjoy that very ending, or were you like sort of mixed on
I
it?
had forgotten the twist, so it was a delight to see it again.
Yeah, and I love the way they lit the scene. Like, I like the last shot of the church sparkling at night too. Like, just seeing that beautiful shot of it was really cute.
Yeah.
Definitely right. So I'm gonna before we before I ask you guys for your IMDb rating scale and sort of wrap up, I do want to give a shout out a little bit to Avinash Simon 1988. Thank you, mate. You recommended this movie. I wasn't actually planning on covering this movie off from the LJP series, but in a poll I put out to ask what movie should we review. This one I didn't even put on there because I didn't know about it. But after I read the premise and look, you sold me on it. Like, it sounded awesome, and it definitely was. Mr. Man and Nomad. Thank you guys for all sort of contributing to that. Now, the IMDb rating for this. Ooh, okay. This is a 7.9 out of 10. So, Kathy, would you give this 7.9 out of 10? Would you give it above or below? Don't have to give a rating, just above or below, or the same.
I would say just a hair below, maybe.
I'd say
same. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think it. And the thing, I can't really explain why that feels too high. Maybe I feel like but I mean, it feels a little inflated, but still, I have no real criticism of the film. That would rate it lower. I think enjoyment level, it was about there.
And I mean, I think the barrier of being an outsider, I think that rating is right for Kerala audiences and maybe for the diaspora of Malayalam speaking. Like, they get this, right? And and there's so much of this film where I can enjoy it on one level, I'm just not, like all the references, all the whatever. I'm further along there seeing it a second time, but and 6 years after watching so many more movies, but I still, it's really hard with comedy, especially to there's such cultural specific things that are in this movie that probably were absolutely hilarious to a Kerala audience watching this in a theater or watching it as a family at home, that I'm like, oh, that was mildly amusing, but probably for them it was a laugh riot, right? And so I enjoyed it on a certain level. Sexy priest Indrajith, I'm all about that, but it's not.
I'm telling you,
it's not 7.9 sexy priest Indrajith, right? So
it's probably the religious thing too. Probably took a bite out of it for me. I'm not super religious and not into the religious, like, overarching magicalness of the religion aspect of it. So I probably dropped it a little for me too.
How about you, Ahmed?
Okay, I'm probably a little bit high on this. I really like this. I'm probably around I guess probably an 8.5 around.
Wow.
I mean, it's a kind of movie that, again, I walked away from this, and one, it left me with a really good feeling because I was like, I'm not super religious, but I do like good stories. Like, I like stories that have optimism, stories that have hope, that have spirit. Like, even though I might not go to church every week or temple or anything like that. I definitely appreciate that side of things, and I do think that if it's done, I don't know, because sometimes I think, like, religious movies have a sort of connotation to them, like they're for a certain crowd and they're not accessible to the masses. This is definitely not one of them. Like, this, if you can see this through a lens, I'll be like, okay, I'm a Christian and I understand all the references and I understand how important this movie is. But like myself and yourself, Kathy, and Melanie as well too, it's like we can watch this and be like, we don't understand everything, but we can enjoy everything and appreciate what this movie's trying to do. On top of that, I like movies that are super layered. Like, again, we talked about this movie, but again, there's so many things in this movie that just was. You can enjoy this on so many different surfaces, on so many levels. Like, you can look at it from the romance level and be like, look, there's two romances going on. You can see it from the religious level and see that happening. You can see the politics between the church. There's like talks about like casteism and stuff like that as well. Because Fahad's character, I think, is from a lower caste or something like that. You have all these different factors going on, and it's just, I think it's really good. Like they, I'm pretty impressed by Lijo Jose Pellissery to put something like this together. Because at this, you might watch it and go, okay, that was enjoyable, but then when you walk out, you're like, wait a second, there's all this stuff happened which I actually missed, and when I watch it again, I'm probably gonna appreciate it more. So that for me is a hallmarks of a movie that does something really good, I think. But again, I do have the criticisms. I would say is, yep, I definitely agree on sort of the accessibility. If you're not familiar with Indian cinema and especially Malayalam cinema, this is not the probably first place to start, because it's just too the storytelling is, it's too different and what they're trying to do in this. With that, you can probably enjoy it from a musical level, but if you don't enjoy that, then you're probably going to get out of it. Pacing wise, I think there was some issues. Like it took a long time to get Fahad's character, who we're expecting to sort of get off the ground. Like I think it was like 45 minutes, and nothing in the story really. His story didn't move along at all. Like he had a love interest, and nothing really happened for a long time.
He was on pause for a lot of this movie, basically.
He was, yeah. So it was, and it might have just been like, because we expect Fahad to sort of be the lead, but as you sort of mentioned, Melanie, it's more an ensemble cast. So if you take away that expectation that Fahad is the lead and just be like, this is a journey of all characters, Indrajith is going to be leading it for some time, then Fahad's going to come in, then we're going to have these small stories come in every now and then. Then it sort of does that. So it could be with some expectations with that. But yeah, so I absolutely love this movie. I really enjoyed it.
It was really good.
And yeah, I'm honestly looking forward to watching it again to sort of pick up on some of the things that I didn't see it.
This is one of the great things about having our YouTube channels, right? Is that our viewers clue us in to gems of movies that otherwise we might not know about.
That's right.
And when they learn about us and they know what we'll like, also, I mean, that's even great, even better. But I love that this was a suggestion from your viewers to watch this film.
I love that.
And and look at how much you loved it. So that's one of the great things.
This is one of many. Most of my movies have come from suggestions from viewers at this stage.
I know, ours too. That's how I got started.
Same. Like people have been so awesome and just give us all these awesome movies, and I walk away and I'm like, thank you, person on the internet, Avinash, Simon, and the rest.
Thank you, person on the internet.
I mean, for suggesting this, I would have never come across this. Honestly, I would never have enjoyed this, and I wouldn't have this conversation with you guys about this. So what you've led to is absolutely awesome, and I truly appreciate that. But hey, guys, this was an awesome conversation.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Make sure to go on Melanie's channel, Paradise Reviews, watch the videos, leave a comment, subscribe, do all that. Go on Kathy's, do the same thing. Then follow us, because we're going to be across these other channels. Like you already know this now. I don't need to keep saying it. Like
no, keep telling them.
Well, somebody could be discovering us for the first time, Mom. You have to say that. So, but we love for the first time. We love being on your channel, and thanks for inviting us to discuss this really fun movie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.
Bye.